Have you ever used an alarm clock, a television, or a remote? Well, all these things and more were made possible through the various theories Albert Einstein developed. Albert Einstein always saw in pictures, visualizing items. From the time his father first gave him a compass, he would stay up late, watching the needlepoint move, questioning its effort. He wanted to capture all physical laws that power the universe in one single equation. In the year 1900, Albert Einstein was a 21-year-old undergrad at Swiss Federal Polytechnic. For now, he was just an average student, who one day will be associated with the word genius that none of his professors would have predicted. After graduation, Einstein could not get a single job. He contemplated switching fields to sell insurance. Depressed, Albert Einstein moved to Bern, Switzerland's capital, in 1902 and began a job as a patent clerk, working 6 days a week. At work, he daydreamed what it would be like to ride a beam of light. It was here at this job that gave him time to contemplate the way the universe worked. In 1905, or better known as his miracle year, he published in his spare time 4 visionary papers. In March, he created the quantum theory of light, which is the idea that light exists as photons. In April and May, Einstein published his new method of counting and determining the size of the atoms in a given space, providing that atoms actually exist. In June, he rode a streetcar in Bern and looked back at the famous clock tower in the city and wondered what would happen if the streetcar traveled at the speed of light. He realized time would stop on the clock tower, but tick normally inside the car. Einstein recalled, "A storm broke loose in my mind. The faster you move, the more time broke down." This marked the birth of Einstein's theory of special relativity, which he submitted to the most prestigious European scientific journals. Later, in 1905, he developed an extension of the special relativity, providing energy and matter are linked in his most famous equation, E = mc squared. After submitting his theory, time slowly passes at the patent office, and he only hopes for the best. He became depressed because 5 months had passed, and there was still no response. Finally, the paper falls in the hands of Max Planck, a theoretical physicist in Europe. Planck realized immediately that this is an important paper from an important scholar. He still applied to jobs at high schools, colleges, and constantly getting rejected. This was truly his miracle year for Max Planck discovering his publication, but little did he know as he was still working at the patent office. In 1907, Albert writes a new article on special relativity and wanted to expand his theory to an overall general theory that involves time and gravity. With this thought of gravity, he realized he will be fighting 2 centuries of thought against Sir Isaac Newton. At 28, Albert is still working at the patent clerk, which was nowhere near where he thought his life would be, 2 years after he published his theories. In 1909, Einstein was finally offered an academic job as a professor at the University of Zurich. In 1915, he announced his general theory of relativity. This displaced Newton's original work, and he suggested that gravity is not a force, but the effect on objects bending space-time. Einstein went off to America for the first time in 1921 and was seen in a positive light and won the Nobel Prize in Physics for his work on the photoelectric effect. Around 1933, Einstein moved to the U.S. and took a job in Princeton at the Institute for Advanced Study. Einstein later wrote to President Roosevelt urging that the atomic bomb to be built, but did not directly participate in the invention of the atomic bomb. At the age of 76, Albert Einstein died from abdominal internal bleed, which he refused to have treated. Even though he made some of the greatest contributions to science today, he died frustrated by his failure to reconcile his theories with the new world of quantum physics. He was a visionary thinker and cultural icon. Einstein truly transformed humankind's understanding of nature on every scale, from the tiniest speck to space as a whole, and we are still exploring his thoughts today.